Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video where we'll be talking about everything you need to know about suppliers and what you should be doing if suppliers do not give you the best margins, they don't give you the best customer service. You are their customer, so they're basically providing customer service to you, and ultimately what decisions that you can make as a business owner to turn those positives or negatives into win-win situations with these suppliers. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up a notepad and I'm just going to be as raw as possible going through all of these possible scenarios when you are dealing with supplier issues. All right, guys, we are now on the whiteboard, and right away, I just want to create a notepad and we're going to list a few supplier issues. So some supplier issues that you might run into working with high ticket suppliers. This is, if you don't know what this is even about, high ticket suppliers are suppliers located in your country that you'll be selling in. And for example, if I'm selling in the US, I'll be working with US suppliers. And with these US suppliers, these are some of the common issues that you probably will face when working with these suppliers. Number one, it's going to be low margins. So we're going to talk about why suppliers give you low margins and how to turn this negative, what seems like a negative upfront, into a positive. Next, we are going to be talking about bad fulfillment. So if orders are constantly being damaged, here's what you can do in order to kind of solve that. And three, this is another problem that you may or may not face depending on the suppliers. Is map not enforced. So that problem is usually the easiest to solve, but if we come up with any more supplier issues, we will list them on this sheet. So number one, in terms of low margins, there are a few ways you can tackle this. Number one, what I mean by low margins is 10% after shipping. So let's say you sell something for $2,000 and you only make $200 after shipping. Okay, so what can you do on your end to kind of combat this? First, you need to know that advertising brands or products from this brand, you need to be extra cautious. Do not advertise aggressively because you only have 10% wiggle room to play around with. If you advertise and you are spending $100 to acquire a customer, you are only left with 10% or 5% margin, net margin at the end of the day. And if you give a discount code, boom, you're down to 3%. And then Shopify fees, okay, you're basically making no money. So what can you do in this scenario? Well, instead of paying $100 per customer, you need to factor in worst case scenario, if the customer uses a discount code and you consider Shopify transaction fees, you basically need to acquire customers for $20 to $50 so you have some profit margin left over. But this is still not ideal. Usually with these suppliers, here are some things you can do. Number one is, this is something I would always try, it's going to be ask for better margins. And on the conversation with the supplier, this is how you should approach them. Number one, you should approach them like this. Hey, I'm advertising your products and I see competitors that are also advertising your products for this same price, same map pricing. However, I'm not able to compete. I'm not able to sell your products and reach a wider audience because we're only left with, say, whatever margin, 2% margin. This is not sufficient for us to grow your brand and gain more exposure. And this is extremely, extremely powerful when you have sales for this brand. You literally show them the breakdown. Hey, you pay this much for the customer. You pay this much in shipping. You receive this much after fees. You are left with this. Give them the percentage amount and you tell them this is not workable. If you want this to be long term, then we need better margins. And the good suppliers, or the ones that care, will give you better margins. And I've done this with many suppliers, and this has worked numerous times. And if the supplier says no, which I had one supplier that's absolutely terrible say no, this is what you do. You just take them off your website, stop advertising them. Usually it's not worth the hassle because they don't care about their dealers. They don't really care about their company at the end of the day. So ask for better margins if possible. And then obviously advertise very, very conservative if you even advertise. If you are still paying too much for a customer, turn off the ads, rely on organic sales, and just play the game from there. That is how you tackle low margin suppliers. 10% is rather rare these days. I know there's some industries where 10% is the average, and I was in one of them, which was greenhouses. I do not recommend that if you guys were curious. So low margins, that is exactly how I would tackle low margin suppliers. Just, hey, if they don't give you what you want and you try to negotiate, you try to give them a reasonable cause, and you show them on paper, hey, it's not going to work out long term, and they still said no, then I would not work with a supplier. Or if you were going to work with them and they only had low margins as a problem and not bad fulfillment and not enforced, I would still leave them on the website, just not advertise them. They might still get sales. No harm leaving them on the website. Next is going to be bad fulfillment. So depending on what you are selling, this could not be an issue or it could be a major issue. So I'm in a niche. I'm just going to tell you, I'm in the furniture niche on one of my stores. And this is one of the biggest problems inside this industry. I realized that it's not the whole industry itself, because I've shipped a lot of items. I have close to 2,000 orders on that store, and it's mainly just a couple suppliers and probably how they're manufacturing the products. So if you're constantly getting into damages with this supplier, number one, and I've done this exactly, that's why I'm showing you guys live, is you want to bring it up to your rep or to the CEO even. Bring it up to brand. So you tell them, hey, a lot of your shipments are being damaged and it's causing these issues in our business working together. Number one, stress on the customer. Number two, returns, because customers have to wait for the replacement to send, and some customers don't want to wait, so they rather cancel the order. And number three is it leaves a bad taste in the customer's mouth and ruins the customer's thoughts about the brand. So bring it up to the brand. And I've done this with one or two brands, and what they have done, one brand have taken action, one brand just didn't take action. The one brand that took action, I've been selling for close to 2 years now. And what they did was they repackaged or remanufactured their packaging in a way so they put it on a pallet, they packaged it more or just better, and that led to less damage rates. So with that supplier, I've been doing more and more revenue with them each and every year, and they've been just listening to my feedback with working with them and how they can improve. And one of the ways we improved was improving the fulfillment and improving the damage rates. So instead of one damage in every 5 shipments, it become one damage in 25 or 1 in 50. Furniture is just rather high because it's just more fragile compared to something like metal. I don't know what you would be selling, maybe like appliances or things like that, but yeah. So bad fulfillment comes down to bringing it up to supplier. And if the supplier does not say yes to this, what I would do next is I would bring it up to the CEO of the company. And if the CEO doesn't care, which is rather rare, then your only option is to advertise. It comes down to the low margins. It's very, very simple solutions, simple but effective solution. Advertise conservative. So if you get a lot of damages stacked up and you don't have a good back end in a sales team and a customer service team to deal with it, you could lead into a lot of stress on yourself if you're handling a lot of the issues, but also it could leave, even if you have a team, it could leave a lot of stress on your team dealing with all these issues when they could be closing more sales for your company. So advertise conservatively, you can reduce the damage rate, you'll get less orders, but if it's more manageable, and as you grow, you could, if you have more people to deal with returns, maybe you have a set amount of people that deal with returns specifically, then you can leave it to them. But in the short term, advertise conservatively will make it a lot easier to, deal with these bad fulfillment issues. And number 3 is you just turn off the brand. Either to remove it from your website or leave it on your website, but don't advertise. I tend to go with the option of leaving it on the website, but not advertising them. And with that being said, let's hop onto the last issue that we thought of is just be map not enforced. This is the easiest one, because if map is not enforced and you brought it up to each department of their brand, like, you care because supplier or dealers are undercutting you on map, and you brought it to the brand and the brand doesn't care, and even if the brand says they will get it taken care of, and you check back a month later, that's plenty of time, and it's the same dealer undercutting you on map, then you need to keep following up until either you get a yes, this will be resolved, please just be patient, or this will not be. Basically, the only way you can tell is if you gave it enough time and the dealer still did not update their pricing, you need to treat the supplier as non-map suppliers. And non-map suppliers are not the end of the deal, because I still sell non-map suppliers each and every month. And with non-map suppliers, you just cannot advertise aggressively, because you are going to be right next to people that are probably lower or higher than you on price. And the customer, if it's the same listing, they're going to buy from someone that has the same item but cheaper. That's why there is such thing as price match policies. So for suppliers that don't enforce map, you must realize that, hey, if the supplier doesn't enforce map, the supplier is a non-map supplier. Even if they have a map policy, if they don't enforce it, it doesn't really matter at all. And with non-map suppliers, you cannot advertise aggressively. And even if map is slightly enforced, I would not be spending most of my budget in the low campaign. And if you don't even know what low campaigns are, then basically our advertising funnel is where we advertise with a pyramid, upside down pyramid, and people on the very top of the pyramid is called the high funnel, medium funnel, and then low funnel. The low funnel are people searching brand, product type, plus SKU, and those are the most likely to convert. But if map is slightly enforced, but not always, then bidding on the super targeted keywords may not do well. It might be better to actually target the medium funnel terms that are just brand, product type, or just brand by itself. So with that being said, that is exactly how you solve these supplier issues with low margins, bad fulfillment, and map not being enforced. Hope you guys took away some value from this video on how to deal with supplier issues. And obviously, over time, you will have an arsenal of suppliers that don't have crazy amount of issues, and you just work with the best ones to grow and scale your business. So I hope you guys took away value from this video. If you want to work with me, my business partner Marcus, one-on-one with high-ticket dropshipping mentorship, fill out the link down in the description below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.